So things have to change.
Piggybacking on that, I think that would make things saturated, you know, bringing in, which I personally didn't vote for I vote against it because we have enough issues already with parking and communication and tuition hikes to add to that dilemma. So I really didn't see where, you know, adding a football team would actually help.
Well, let me you know, everybody has a right to have an opinion. That's
Right.
what's great about this country. From a business person's perspective, it would be the biggest financial advantage for the school that you could do. Because you create loyal alumni who write big checks. If you go to the University of Georgia, you look at all the assets over there,
Yeah.
that comes from alumni. Where do alumni come from? They support football. University, they're a dog.
Yeah,
Okay?
this is true.
So it brings money to the university so that students get better education. The other thing it does, football is a cash cow for university. That's what funds all the athletics, except basketball. That's what funds all the athletic programs that don't self-sustain themselves. We got women volleyball. It's a loser in terms of money. They have to give scholarships out, and the ticket revenue is zero for all intent and purposes. I used to go to Auburn baseball games when I was at Auburn. You'd have 15 people in the audience. So football is a cash cow. That generates the dollars to do everything else. Is it going to affect parking? Depends on where they build it, actually. If they build it away from, and I've heard different discussions about where it might be built, they can minimize traffic. We do have traffic problem, not here, just here, but everywhere we go. So adding a football team is a business decision. And there are so many other advantages. Suddenly KSU, you do a Division I program, which is where Dr. Pat wants to go, it puts KSU on the map so that if you're in Texas or you're in North Carolina, you know KSU because they're a Division I football team. That helps you with federal grants. That helps you make sure that you bring in students that raise the overall quality of education. You get to bring in better faculty members. It just has a relationship all the way down. It's a pure business decision.
So why doesn't it happen in West Georgia, or
Pardon?
Georgia Southern, or Georgia State? Why hasn't all that financial success happened for the schools?
Oh,
It's actually 2004 report that says 80% of NCAA College I division schools have football teams actually lose money.
Well, if it's done right, it's done.
What would make KSU different? What would we do right? So
What we do, well, first of all, we involve the right person to lead the project team. I'm not a big Georgia fan, but Vince Dooley was the right person to select. Dr. Pat was number 2 in the higher education board of chancellors or pardon? Yeah, Board of Regents. Yeah. So he knows how the money flows and how it works. Plus, he's a shrewd businessman. So he hired the right guy to put the business plan together. And he is, and if you haven't learned this, you need to. Debt is horrible. Don't have debt. How many of you ever listen to Dave Ramsey? If you got credit cards, tear them up. Don't have debt. What Dr. Papp is doing is getting the financing together before the project goes forward with contributions from various organizations. They may end up having to borrow some money, but the idea is don't let debt burden bring you down. A lot of colleges don't set up the business plan right. I'm just going to make this up because I don't know the Georgia Southern situation. They have enough money for 10 scholarships. They want to win, so they offer 20 scholarships. They don't do a good job of marketing the business, or they have a losing team or whatever. There's a lot of things that go along with that. But at the Division I level, if you put the right kind of program together, it's a cash cow. Auburn's arch enemy is the University of Alabama. The University of Alabama's football team funds the university. So it really depends on how you do it. It's like there's about 4 large trucking companies in the United States. There's probably a good ones. There's probably 4 that are lousy. What's the difference? They both got access to the same capital. They both got the same access to the same trucks. They both can have access to the same truck drivers. They're all on the same road. So why is one successful and one not? Leadership, management leadership. That's the difference. That's the differentiator between businesses that are run crappy and those that are run well. In today's world, you can get money, capital, assets technology anywhere. So the difference between winners and losers is the quality of your leadership, period. So that's the same thing with athletic programs. If you don't do it right, you can lose money, just like the company would.
What about the professors getting raises? And, I mean, it seems like a lot of energy is going toward the athletic department, but what about keeping these quality professors that we have here without them having to work a second job to make ends meet?
You know, you're getting down into the weeds in the university, so I don't know that they haven't got raises. I'm sorry, but I don't know why they got raises. I'll get back to the investment.
I mean, we were talking about leadership and economics, that's what
I'm there with you.
Yeah.
This university grows and its recognition, its esteem, and all that kind of stuff, and it's doing it, by the way. This is becoming a well-known university internationally. Its MBA program, for example, now is on the top 20 best value kind of MBA program. Then when that happens, you grow financially the company because you start getting an influx of dollars. A lot of financial support from faculty members comes from research grants.
Okay.
And once you start that momentum going, where you're bringing in the best faculty, who bring in the best research dollars, and then you can afford to pay more, and all that kind of goes. It all kind of goes together for the long term. My youngest son graduated from Georgia Tech 2 years ago. The reason they get great students and great faculty members is research dollars. Period. That's where it comes from. They have a good Georgia Tech football program, and I know the head coach fairly well. That they make a lot of money, but that's just a part of it. It creates. There are several engineering schools that are probably comparable to Georgia Tech, but nobody knows them because they don't have an athletic program. They don't have a football team. It's just a fact. But research dollars allow you to offer larger salaries to faculty. Period. I have worked with universities a good portion of my career, and I don't know very many faculty members that don't do consulting projects as well. I mean, anywhere. It's always been that way, at least in my experience. It's a decision. You can live in a very cheap fashion, or if you want to live at a higher level, you do consulting work or part-time work, and really, in some respects, it enriches yourself as a teacher. I was involved in a project 25 years ago at Southern Company where we were trying to look at all the power plants in the Southern Company system, and our goal was to take $500 million out of the operation and maintenance budget without having a degradation of the equipment. And so we hired an executive strategic planning guy. His name was Bob Miles. Published a lot of books. He taught at Harvard and Yale, and again back to Emory University. Very rich in research dollars. Brought Bob in. Bob made on the university at that time. His salary was $80,000 with the university. His consulting salary was $1.2 million.
What does that say?
Okay, but the point is, everything he did in the consulting role, he brought into the classroom. And he did high-end work for General Electric. Texas Instruments was one of his clients, and he got better and better, could demand more and more money. So I honestly don't know any faculty member that I've ever worked with that didn't also do work on the side. That's not because they don't get paid well. It just helps their own standard of living, and also helps them enrich their teaching material.
Thank you.
Let me walk through a couple other things real quick. I went through my resume. This little package, a little 3-page package. I want to. Y'all get into communication and marketing stuff, so let me get into that for a minute. When I came into this job 13 months ago, the first thing that I started doing, and I had a little ring-bound notebook. I started writing down what it was I was going to sell. It was my job to sell Cobb County to the state, throughout this country, and then internationally. That's my job, or a big part of my job. So I started writing down all the things that made this community special, okay? Because again, if I'm going to talk to potential companies, I need to know my product, right? Just like anybody in here that works at a grocery store or a 7-Eleven or a manufacturer, you need, if you're selling.